Kia ora e te whānau. It is good to be able to greet you again on this video on our lockdown lowdown. We hope that you've had a great week and that you're staying safe and well in your bubble.
So we are now halfway through the 4th week of our lockdown, and on Monday we will find out whether the lockdown will be extended or whether we can progress down to level 3. However, looking at the details, we know that it will still be quite some time before we are able to meet together as a Salvation Army church in Taupō. Level 3 and possibly even level 2 has restrictions that mean for us meeting together physically is just not going to be an option.
However, we want to encourage you to stay in contact with those around you, whether that's friends, family, neighbours, church members or others that you are in contact with. Keep in touch, reach out, have conversations, pick up the phone. We are going to continue with our online hangouts both on Sundays and Wednesdays. On Sunday at 11 AM after the live stream we have an online Zoom hangout, and that's a really good time just to catch up and connect together. On Wednesday nights we have an online social night. Every second week we have a quiz, and the other week we play some sort of game, and it's just a really good time to have fun and hang out together as well. Starting from next week we're going to be starting an online Bible study with John and Karen helping us out by leading that. And so if you're interested in this or any other of our events, please reach out and we'll get the details to you so you can join in as well.
We'd like to thank you as well for continuing to support those around you, whether it be doing the shopping, picking up the phone, or one of many other things. However, if you are in need of assistance yourself, then please get in touch. You can email us or get in contact with phone numbers, and we'd love to help in the way we are able to. In the next part of our video, Char is going to be speaking on the struggles of listening to God. And then following that, we'll have a segment looking at the General's call to prayer, the General of the Salvation Army worldwide on Sunday.
This week I have been wrestling with God about what it is that is going to come out of this lockdown. Week 3 was quite tough. The novelty had worn off. Things aren't so shiny anymore. The reality has set in, and at the time when I wrote this, I hadn't left the house in over a week except to go for a walk. I had been really unsettled at the beginning of the week and wrestling with God, asking Him, what is next? What is the plan? What's going to happen? What is the next step? Where are you leading us? And when can I just go for a coffee with my friends? Sometimes it's easy to be practical and to take action. And in some ways, that's what the first few weeks of lockdown were. Establishing new routines, making videos and phone calls, writing newsletters, getting to grips with Zoom, setting up processes and procedures, and being ready to respond to needs in the community. And now, 3 weeks in, it's trickier. I'm impatient. I have questions. Will we even be coming out of lockdown next week? When will we be able to meet with others physically? What restrictions will be on us going forward? And for how long? There are many, many questions and not very many easy answers. Often in our modern world, we can wonder aloud about something 1 minute and then Google it the next, have an answer at our fingertips. We have information right there on our phones and on our computer screens. And we've become used to instant results. Living in this uncertainty with all the unknown questions and no answers at our fingertips is uncomfortable. In a world that is constantly on the go, waiting and staying where we are takes effort and is a really uncomfortable space to be in. I was having this conversation with a friend this week, and she reminded me that God's Spirit requires patience and listening and waiting. It can be easy for us to bustle on ahead without taking the required amount of time, the right amount of time to stop and listen for the Spirit to guide us into what that He wants for us. It can be really easy for me to do this, rather than waiting for the Holy Spirit to lead me on what He is saying to me individually. And this week, I have been reminded to be slow, to wait, to stop, to pray, and to listen and trust. In Galatians 5, there is a reminder in verse 25 that as Christians, we need to keep in step with the Spirit. We need to keep in step with the Spirit. And I think that is a great lesson for us all to be reminded of. Let's not hurry ahead of God, but wait for the companion, the Holy Spirit, to lead us and walk closely with Him. In John 20, in one of the appearances of Jesus after He is raised to life on Easter Sunday, Jesus turns up in a locked house where the disciples are gathered in fear. Jesus came and stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." He shows them His hands and His wound in His side, and again He says to them, "Peace be with you." Jesus must have known that the disciples were scared and uncertain. They had seen Jesus be crucified on the cross. And on that Sunday morning, Peter and another disciple had seen the empty tomb. They had heard Mary's testimony that she had seen Jesus. But they were confused. They were uncertain. They were fearful of the future and unsure about what it all meant. They were uncomfortable. They were unsure if they should return to their old lives or if it was even safe for them out in the world. And Jesus, He just comes among them and says to them calmly, "Peace be with you." What a way to show up. I can't help but think that there are some parallels about the disciples' experience and to us now. The disciples were behind locked doors, and we are on lockdown. The disciples were fearful and probably uncertain and confused. And here we are in this time of uncertainty as well. Perhaps we are also fearful. Fearful of losing jobs, fearful of sickness or of the virus, fearful about the what-ifs that are so unknown to us. Jesus shows up amongst the disciples in an unexpected way among them. Miraculously, even, as Jesus shows up inside a locked room which defies the natural law. Jesus can and does show up in our lives too. We can experience God, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, all in our own home or wherever we are, in all these unexpected ways. And Jesus' message, both then for the disciples and for us today, is a message of peace. In the wrestling and the questions, there is a message of peace that comes from God, a peace that surpasses all understanding. And in this time of lockdown, I think it is especially a message that we need to cling to. In the New Testament, the use of the word peace brings to mind all that Jesus did through His death on Good Friday and His resurrection 3 days later, to make peace between God and humanity. Through Jesus' death and resurrection, the way has been made so that we can be made in right relationship with God and have a close relationship with Him, and so that we can experience peace. The world cannot manufacture or provide us with peace, but Jesus makes the way for us to experience a peace that comes from God, that is greater than any self-help scheme we can find. In the waiting, behind closed doors, and in the uncertain times we find ourselves living in, we can call out to God and be assured that He will show up and grant us peace. We can be reassured that God works in the waiting. We don't need to wait until things settle down, until things are sorted and life goes back to normal, because who knows when normal is coming anyway. God meets us in the rawness, in the grief, in the waiting, in the unknown. For me, this requires stopping and spending time talking and listening to God, inviting God to guide my path and actively listening to what it is He is saying. I know that it's okay to bring all my questions to God and to wrestle, but I also need to be still and practice being patient and get into step with His Holy Spirit. I need to cling to His peace. My prayer for each of us is that this week we can embrace the wrestling and the waiting. That we can bring our whole selves before God and know afresh His peace and His love for each of us. And that we would live in the peace that comes from God and surpasses all understanding.
The worldwide leader of the Salvation Army, General Brian Peddle, has called the Salvation Army to a day of prayer, a wave starting with sunrise in Samoa on Sunday, finishing with sunset in Alaska. As part of that, our part of the world, the centre of the North Island, has been specifically asked to pray from 2 till 3:30 on Sunday afternoon. Prayer is a powerful thing and a way we can deeply connect with God, where as we bring the deepest needs, desires and thoughts of ourselves and others, that He ministers to us and those around us. The General's call to prayer has 5 focuses. They are: 1. A focus on lament, those who have lost their lives or lost loved ones, and for what as a global and a society we are going through. Secondly, a prayer for those in need, whether it be for things such as food, friendship, or wanting deeper questions answered. The third one is a prayer for essential workers, doctors and nurses on the front line of the health services, for those working in supermarkets and the food supply chains, for those supplying power and internet and all those other things. Fourthly, a prayer to end this virus, that our collective action can stop the spread of coronavirus and that the cure can be discovered and administered. And finally, prayer for hope and joy to be restored to all those around us. You may wish to check out the website, which will be in the description below, where you'll be able to find more information. I'll also put a link in the video you'll be able to click at the top of the screen. But as part of this prayer on Sunday afternoon, we will be going live on Facebook on the Total Salvation Army page. We invite you to join us as we play music and speak prayers as part of the General's wave of prayer. So, may God hear and bless us in these days ahead as we bring to Him all these thoughts, desires, and connect with Him in prayer.